2, 1. Welcome to Catfish Weekly, March 30th, 2014. Along with Paul Ragsdale, Chris Wallace, and Chuck Davison, I'm Lyle Stokes. Welcome to the show tonight. We have a special guest tonight of Daryl and Jason Masingale. We'll get to them in just a second. Paul has an announcement for some of the giveaways. We'll do that first, and then we'll get right to Daryl and Jason. Paul?
All right, guys, this is going to be the last chance that you get to enter. You need to take a picture, put it in front of you like this. CatfishWeekly.com on the top, Whiskerware Apparel at the bottom, and that picture has to be uploaded to the Catfish Weekly Facebook like page, and that has to be done before the end of the show today. If it's not, then it's too late, and then we'll choose the winner on the April 6th, I believe. And for April 6th, or April, we'll be giving away Dead Red, so 18 bucks that stuff coming. So, you guys want to make sure you pay attention to get into the giveaways. And I'll turn it back over to Lyle.
You want to go ahead and allow them the deadline to be all the way through the 31st, just tomorrow, end of the day tomorrow?
No,
put those pictures in. No,
it's got to be in the end tonight.
By end tonight. Okay.
All right. Tonight we have the pleasure of one of the hottest teams in competitive catfishing, Daryl and Jason Masingale. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're going to pass this around and let everybody ask you some questions. The topic tonight is bait presentation, but before we get into that, I had the pleasure of meeting you guys a few years ago at a couple of tournaments and watched you in a video that you've done with Chris Stout, or Brad Stout, I'm sorry, and you guys are been on a roll the last several years, and it's amazing that the finishes you all put together. Is this something you guys have done since you was kids, or you just decided one day you wanted to start tournament fishing?
Well, we've fished from as far back as we remembered, but as far as tournament catfishing goes, it was probably 2006 before we ever even knew there was a catfish tournament. A good friend of ours from Memphis, Matt Bingham, he kind of introduced us to it, and we've been running ever since.
Well, you guys really put a great success story together, and I know we see you at all the big tournaments that we go to, and even I see you at some of the smaller tournaments and stuff, and you guys put a pretty good stringer together last year down at the Monsters, the Ohio, and you always do pretty good at the other tournaments that you're at. Being brothers in a boat. Now, I've fished my tournaments with my brother a lot, and him and I are pretty close, and once in a while there's some stuff that goes on there. Do you guys run into that at all, or not?
Yeah, I'd say so. Not too bad. I think it's actually an advantage. We've had several people ask us, and one guy told us, he said, I know your secret. He goes, the fact that you're brothers, you can say about anything to each other and not, let it roll off your shoulder. But nothing too bad. Little things, but no, nothing too bad. We shoot each other straight. I mean, if I think he's full of it, I tell him you're full of it. He's the same way back. But like he said, it's in one ear and out the other, and we move on.
That's exactly the way it's got to be with any partnership team, I'd have to think. The topic tonight is bait presentation, and I'm sure that you guys would agree that fresh bait and the way you present it to the fish makes a big difference. Is there anything that you could tell us that would help some of the listeners if they was starting out that would be beneficial to them on what they do with their bait to catch more fish?
Take care of your bait. I mean, I know that sounds like common sense, but a lot of guys, whether they're catching shad or bluegill or skipjack or about anything, I've seen them, throw it right in the bucket and leave it in the bucket. It get hot. We try to keep our bait, get it on ice as quick as we can. And I know that sounds common sense, but we run into a lot. Now, some guys, they like to leave their bait out, and I won't argue that point either, because I've had to reach down in our bait bucket and grab pieces of bait that sat there all day, and sometimes they still do just as good. Key is try to fish what bait that the fish are feeding on at the time, the size of bait. We ran into that in a tournament on, I guess, was it Wilson. And you know, we always thought big bait, big fish. And I told Daryl we got to realizing every fish we caught was on about a 2-inch piece of bait or less. And I usually do live well duty, and I got to notice, and that's what the fish were regurgitating back up, was about 2-inch shad. And then when we realized that, it's about halfway through the day, we started putting on smaller pieces of bait, and it really made a difference.
That's great information. We got Robert Tallman that sent a question in. Which one of you guys are the captain of the boat?
Well, we got the little trick that we do. We take turns. Meaning usually one of us will drive the boat and look at the depth finder and pick a spot. And as long as that person that's picking the spot, and they, you know, sometimes it's a feel more than it is what you see. And then if that person strikes out, then Daryl takes it over, and vice versa. We go back and forth.
Whoever got the hot hand is the captain for the day.
That sounds like a plan right there. That's great. I'm not going to take up a lot of the time because I know everybody's got some questions they want to ask you, and I'll pass it off to Chris and let him get started, and he can go ahead with Chuck and Paul. But you know, this is going to be a fun show, and we appreciate you guys being on here with us.
Well, we like doing this kind of stuff. It's fun.
All right, I would say you were talking about the smaller chunks of bait. Do you do that more? Do you start gauging that more on a season? Say, for instance, the colder weather, you go smaller bait, and the warmer weather start getting a little bigger, or you really just try to just always feel out the fish and see. Do you have a good mixture of sizes out, and then just sort of base it off what's getting hit?
Yeah, we fill them out. I mean, there's days that you can't put a piece of bait big enough on, and there's other days, just like in that tournament there, where it was very size specific. So I mean, you know, we bait out first thing in the morning. We try a little bit of everything, and then pay real close attention to what bites we're getting, what fish we're catching. And then, you know, size-wise, bait proportion to that.
I would say you guys have a pretty good successful, I guess, career or results. You have a pretty good overall results of tournament fishing. Do you have a recipe that you guys sort of just follow in order for how you go about tackling every single tournament, something that you could share with everybody that might sort of help them in their tournament fishing?
I will say this, Jason, you may have to say something else different, but you know, we fish from Texas to Kentucky to Missouri, you know, all over, and you know, what tends to work in one spot, you know, still is common amongst all the spots. I mean, just because you go to a different body of water, don't get so overwhelmed by the new body of water that you forget everything you know. You know, take what you know and use it. You know, rivers versus lakes. I mean, you know, a river is just a moving lake in some respect, and then, you know, same way about a lake is a still river. The structure's still there. The fish relate to a lot of the same things. So, you know, just because you go out there and struggle, don't let it blow your mind and say you got to completely relearn fishing. You know, take what you know and what you're confident with, and use that to your advantage.
The big thing too is just keeping a real open mind. You know, we'll come into a tournament, and the joke I say is you know, there's a lot of talk going on before a tournament, and usually if you fall into that trap, you're going to fish the same way the rest of the field is. Like Daryl said, if you're confident in a certain thing, take that and try to apply it where you're going, because a blue cat's a blue cat, whether he's Texas or St. Louis, Indiana, he acts and behaves the same no matter where he's at.
So you say you really got to learn the species of fish you're after and figure out what they do in different situations, and you start learning that kind of stuff. You're gonna know the things to look for when you're on the water.
That's right. That's right.
So, I think we had another question. Do you guys use any other bait besides fresh bait? Do you ever use any old bait, frozen bait, anything like that, or are you guys pretty much like, if it ain't fresh, we're pretty much not going to do well in this tournament because we don't got any other bait?
No, I mean we've fished frozen bait in tournaments. I mean, we've gone out looking for fresh bait and struck out, so to speak. And we always try to keep us some kind of frozen bait. We ain't gonna just give up because we can't find anything fresh. Like Jason said, if you're putting up bait for frozen, be sure and get it as quick as you can. If you're gonna freeze it, cool it off quick. Get it iced down, and get it in the freezer, and that'll help the freshness even after you do freeze it.
Yeah, frozen bait. A lot of times if it's 6-month-old, year-old, 2-year-old frozen bait, there's a noticeable difference. But if you can usually fish it the first 6 months, 4 months, it's not
good stuff.
It's still good stuff. You can see we've caught 60, 70-pound fish from frozen bait.
All right, one more question for you from me for now. The psychological part, like I don't know, necessarily for the national trails and stuff that you fish, that I would almost guess that there's some of those guys out there, because I know we have some in tournaments that I fish. The guys who, what are you doing there, Lyle?
Just adjusting.
Well, there's guys out there that like to play those mind games with you. I mean, sending you the pictures of the fish that they say they caught, they really haven't, or just telling you where there's great water, great fish, and there really ain't. And you guys do any part of that, or how do you deal with it if you do see it?
I'm gonna say this. Everybody asks us, are y'all on the fish? Are y'all on the fish? And our story is the same everywhere we go. It's not we're dodging questions. We typically do not fish our spots, try not to fish spots that we're going to fish during tournament a week ahead of time. We hear these people come in and say, oh, I've caught a 70, I've caught an 80, I've caught a 50, I've caught a 40, and we're going, yeah, that's a good deal. Yeah, keep after it, because come tournament day, there is probably a 99% chance that they're not going to catch any of those fish that they caught the day before. And, we've heard the story over and over. Man, I was on them yesterday. They moved out. I don't know what happened. I can't understand why I didn't catch them today.
So you firmly believe in sore lipping the fish, man.
Don't go beat yourself. Like I said, we tried to tell people this, and some people listen, some people don't. But a big blue catfish is pretty territorial. We've heard stories of people catching 4 or 5 off one anchor. Now, we haven't experienced that in all of our fishing. We're lucky if we catch 2 big ones. But if you go out to your hot spot and the day before a tournament, catch them all, like I said, you're not going to catch them today at the tournament.
We hear a lot of stories, the people, posting pictures and doing all that just to mess with each other, and that's kind of fun, to hear that and see that, because, a lot of times they're teasing each other and playing around, but we usually don't get much into that. I kind of think it brings on bad karma personally. But now, you got a lot of guys you hear stories that they say they try to go sore lip other people's fish and stuff, and we're not much into that. If I'm gonna beat somebody, I want to beat them when they're at their best. So.
I mean, we don't turn our ear to what people say. We'll listen to what they say, and if by chance we go out and our plan belly flops, we just strike smooth out. We're gonna go try what we heard, because there's truth in everybody's story. Everywhere. Just that's what we've always said. Fish smart, and let the rest take care of itself.
the joke for me and Daryl is if you'll honestly tell the truth, you know, we've told people. Jeff Dodd gives us a hard time. We'll tell him something the day before a tournament, and then we'll fish that next day. He goes, well, that's exactly what you told me you were going to do. You know, and I said, well, Jeff, we didn't lie to you. So I thought you were fibbing to me. So.
Hey, you know, I'm the same way. I agree with that. You know, I tell people the truth. I don't get into the mind games very much, but you know, there are people that do that, and I just you know, like you, I kind of think that brings on bad karma myself. You know, that's why I'm just like, I ain't doing it. You know, I'll tell you exactly what I plan on doing.
Play. You know what we decide the day before, or you know, the week before, whatever, what we're going to do, and you know, that's what we do the day of the tournament. You know, we don't let somebody else make our mind up or try to, like Jason said, you know, play the mind game with you. You know, we've got our plan, and you know, we'll fish that plan for 3 or 4 hours or whatever, and if it doesn't work out, then we go to plan B, you know. And until that happens, you know, we stick to our guns.
There's so many questions I could ask you guys. I mean, I could sit here for another hour and just keep asking questions. But I guess one more. Is there anywhere that you haven't fished yet that you really want to?
Oh, good Lord.
James River, for sure.
Potomac.
Strangely enough, some of the lakes in Texas, you know, there's a lot of big fish coming out of those. We've been down to Texas, but hadn't been there.
I'd like to go Milford.
Yeah, Milford definitely.
Red River. I could go on for hours myself.
Quite a few places, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we've been fortunate that you know we've been able to go to a lot of places we wanted to so far, and but like I said, there's still always places that we hadn't got to go yet. I'd love to go fish in the lower Mississippi River, down around Baton Rouge towards New Orleans. You know, we keep on hearing stories about people that fish down there that say that, you know, everybody down there that wants to catch a big fish goes to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's an untapped resource. You know that there's catfish down there that's as big or bigger than what everybody's catching in St. Louis and Memphis and southeast Missouri. So that's definitely on a bucket list there.
Yeah, anywhere there's catfish and I haven't been, I want to go there someday. So.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of the way I am. Well, I thank you guys. I'll let Chuck or Paul, whoever wants to go next here, have at you for a little while.
All right. There was a couple of tournaments I know y'all were at in Alabama, which a lot of people showed up, did a lot of pre-fishing, and when it come down to you know, paying the entry money and getting at it, a lot of them turned around and went home because one was a big tournament on Logan Martin, which, you know, during the spawn, everybody had the same fishing conditions. A lot, you know, a lot of boats came down to pre-fish that tournament, and on Friday they turned around and went home. And another one was on Wheeler with 3-foot swells. I can't remember what y'all came in on that one. Second place, I believe, with a couple of 60s. There was 3 and 4 foot swells on Friday and Saturday. A lot of people was pre-fishing on Thursday, big swells on Friday, big swells, couldn't stay on the fish, couldn't find them. They turned around and went home. A handful full of people paid the entry and fished it anyway. Do y'all see where they should be anything in the rules to where they should have a commitment to where when they show up, start pre-fishing, they should be committed on paying their entry ahead of time where they're going to fish that tournament?
I can kind of see that as long as it's, you know, safety's not a factor. You know, if you know, yeah, the tournament on Wheeler, that was a long day because we had water coming over the boat. But yeah, I kind of know what you're saying. Something else too we've noticed, you know, we've had situations where we can get down there a day or two ahead of time, do some looking and not catch fish, and you know, sometimes they just don't bite, and they won't bite for 2 or 3 days. And Daryl's analogy is, hey, that's fine if they're not biting the day, 2 days before the tournament.
I like it when they don't bite the day or two before. That tells me they're going to bite sooner or later, and when they do, usually they put on feed bags, and it can be amazing. And that's the tournament you're talking about at Wheeler. I think we won that one. That was the one that, you know, everybody, like you said, the wind, it was tough fishing. Nobody was catching nothing. You know, the wind was tough. and that was the day that we threw back 5 over 60. We turned in our 260s, but we threw away 5 that day that weighed over 60.
Right.
And was having a really tough time coming into that tournament. That Thursday, Friday, couldn't hardly catch them, and we had confidence in where we were fishing, and then luckily the fish bit for us. I think I think our catfishermen, we're our own worst enemy. Meaning we'll talk each other out of it, and sometimes I think that's a factor in these where they'll talk each other out of it and go home.
I mean, in any tournament, I don't care what species you're fishing for. You're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days. The fish just bite, or some days they bite good and some days they don't bite good. But that's the thing about it is, on the days they don't bite good, they tend to not bite good for everybody. So everybody's still on a level playing field. And just because I didn't catch 100 pounds of fish didn't mean that I didn't do any good. If it only takes 30 pounds to win, yeah, it's not as fun that day, but still you are competing against some of the best out there, and those are the days that, I guess the cream rises to the top, and people that can keep their confidence level up and stay focused is the ones that tend to do the best. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best fisherman, you just got a better game plan.
Okay. What would be the perfect tournament structure that you would like to see established in a tournament series to where you had, the same 40 to 50 boats competing monthly with a very nice classic at the end? And what type of entry fee would you like to see, again, with added money from some good sponsors, to see come along in the next 4 or 5 years that y'all would really like to get in and compete on with the top people in the United States monthly?
Well, I mean, we're just like everybody else that's out here fishing these tournaments. We've got sponsors now. We don't have a sponsor that gives us $1. They give us. We work on product. We put our own bill to these tournaments back and forth, and to go 300 miles away, it gets expensive, and in some of these things you're hoping just to recoup your expenses. We ain't necessarily trying to make a dollar at this. I don't know. There's been a whole lot of years that we've made a lot of money. We've paid our way, and that's about all we ask of it. That being said, there can only be one winner, and then you've got your top usually 4 or 5 that get a check at the end of the day. If you up the entry fee so high that it's taking people's whole summer's worth of savings to just enter one tournament, it's hard for them to come back every month or come back every year. So we've paid as high as $500 to enter a tournament, and we've paid as little as $40 or $50. But $200 is pretty standard right now for some of these bigger tournaments, and that usually gives you a pretty good payout if you have your 30 or 40 boats that show up. Until we get some big sponsors out there that's contributing money to the payback, it's going to be real tough to, for it to get to the point where people can travel all over, and if you don't finish in top 5 every other tournament, you're going backward as far as the bank account goes, and it makes it tough.
I'd like to see, $100, $150 entry fees. It gets a little bit more affordable. Or more, something I've always talked about is if you've got a big tournament series coming to town, let the guys that want to pay the $250 or whatever it is enter, but then run you like a second series, like an amateur division. I know and what I mean by that is cut that entry fee down to $25. 2-man team, maybe cut their limit down to fish instead of a 5-fish limit, maybe a 2-fish limit, 3, because they may not have the live well set up. let them take off after the big boats take off and then weigh in a little sooner. You know, that tournament series is already in town. They already got the people there. So, you know, and don't let them overlap. And then once you win that junior amateur series, then you can't continue to fish it. Meaning then you got to step up. And you'd always have new winners. And the key is, as long as you cash a check, you know, my joke is, you know, when we have a bunch of money spent and I come home with a check, Mama's not near as mad at me if I'm cashing some money instead of no money. So that's kind of my thoughts.
That's to grow it up to what we need to be. You know, and you're going to have the involvement, and you know, some of these people can't afford to pay them big dollars, you know, to get in, and I understand that. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast.
Exactly. Okay, I got one more question. I'll pass it off. Have y'all ever thought about coming out with any of your own name brand signature stuff as rods or something like that? Do y'all think y'all are your name is out there good enough where something like that could take off to y'all's advantage on helping make y'all some extra money for you know, paying entry fees and stuff like that?
We've thought about it. You know, like I said, we work full-time positions. You know, I work 60 to 80 hours a week during the summertime. You know, I don't have the time that I need to devote to, you know, making product or something like that. You know, if one of these other companies, you know, wanted us to endorse a product, you know, we're all for that. But I don't want to half-heartedly do anything. You know, I want to give it all I've got, and you know that I don't have the time to do it. I mean, and I'm sure Jason feels the same way.
Yeah, we've talked about it. That's the problem, is our real jobs get in the way for us to really commit to it. And whatever, and we've talked about it, whatever it is that, you know, little things that we do or rigs or whatever it may be. Yeah, we haven't ruled it out. It's just trying to find time to do it.
Exactly. Okay, I'll pass it off to Paul. Go for it, Paul.
Before we get to Paul, do you care if I go ahead and ask a couple of the Catfish Weekly member questions here?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The first question we got is, he says, I know y'all travel extensively. Is there any potential for trophy here in our home waters in Arkansas, in the Arkansas River? Do you think they have the habitat for trophy, as in 60 plus?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Arkansas, you know, the joke in Arkansas is if you go me and Daryl's always said it, if you go catfishing and you don't catch any catfish, and then you take your bait home and fry up your bait, meaning a lot of people in Arkansas eat any and everything they can catch. I think if there was a little bit of a trophy law in Arkansas, it would make a huge impact real fast. But, you know, Greer's Ferry Lake, Bull Shoals, Norfolk Lake, you know, you've got people throwing out little noodles and jugs that's pulling in big fish. Lake Washita is good. But Arkansas River, we fished Arkansas River and have caught some 20, 30-pound fish out of it. You know, haven't spent a lot of time on it, but I'd like to because it looks like a really, really good river, kind of down around the Little Rock areas where we fish. But yeah, Arkansas definitely has it. Flathead, unbelievable flathead here in Arkansas. I just don't think that people have the equipment once you get a 60-pound flathead on to get it in. You know, I just kind of behind the times, at least here.
His other question was, do you think weather is a factor on catfishing? Or I would ask also, add to that, do you watch barometric pressure or anything like that?
Definitely. Catfish, and a cold front moves through, and I'm sure y'all are the same way. You know, when a cold front moves through, you know, there's been times where we just can't get them to bite. You know, I don't know, in a situation like that, we'll go fish for 2-3 pound fish. I mean, literally, the big fish get lockjaw. You know, we've been out on pre-fishing trips where we spent 12 hours on a cold front day and got one bite, and come back next week and catch 200 and something pounds out of the same exact spots. You know, so I mean, yeah, I mean, cold fronts, stuff like that, I don't like them. I mean, east wind is not my friend.
Yeah, east wind's horrible, and if you think about it, you know, if you look at the way the the reason the east wind is a bad wind, it's because usually right after that cold front moves through. We really don't get down to the actual numbers and the pressures. We like to see a consistent pressure, but cold front blows through 24 hours for sure. It'll shut them down for sure 24 hours. So if you're fun fishing, yeah, and if a cold front blows through on a Friday night, you might do something different on Saturday, or at least that's what we do.
Hook down and go for the shad gut.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, glide down.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
All right. Well, first I noticed that Lyle's not wearing his Cubs hat, so.
You're right about that.
And I'm losing my voice, so I'm not going to get long-winded. Kind of curious what your personal bests are.
I don't know. We got separate personal best. We kind of like we fish as a team, so it's the team best, I guess. That's what's odd. As much fishing as we put in, we don't catch a whole lot of huge fish. I say we don't catch a lot. We catch quite a few big fish, but we ain't caught any of them giants that we're looking for. I think, what, 77?
77, 80, right in there.
Yeah.
It's we just can't get past that 80 mark.
You
We
guys,
passed fish on
But there were no doubt.
that made those 80-pounders look, that just the hook pop loose or whatever, get wrapped up in structure that we just couldn't do nothing with, that we know were huge fish. But yeah, about 77, 80 pounds is our personal best.
these guys don't get into a little bit of a personal competition or anything, or?
We tease each other, give each other a hard time, make fun of each other. We've had tournaments where one of us catch every fish the whole day, and tease each other. Are you going? Ask you, are you going to fish today, or what are you doing? Help? What are you doing over there? Whatever you do so, whatever you got on your hands, wash your hands off because you can't catch nothing.
Last year, our best tournament we ever had, I guess, was at Crystal City there. We weighed 200 pounds in, and literally had our 5 fish we weighed in, and I'd caught every one of them. Don't know why. They bit my hook more than his, but at that point in time, I told him, I said, I'm getting tired over here. You gonna help? And he said, you're doing fine. Just keep up the work. I'll sit back and hold the net.
When you get big fish on like that, and you so many times, it's the net man, honestly, reeling the fish in is the easy part. It's netting those big fish or running the trolling motor to keep the fish out, out of the other lines or out of the prop or out of the trolling motor. We've got ourselves in a bunch of binds just not paying attention while we're reeling the fish in.
Right. Well, I will turn it over to Lyle. Like I said, I'm losing my voice, so.
All right, Paul. The one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, when y'all made the Catfishing Dream Team, I got it sitting right here by my desk, and I watch it periodically. It's a great DVD. I need you to explain that supercut you was talking about on those shad. I think that would help me personally if I knew how you all done that.
All right,
that's what he calls the buffalo cut.
The buffalo cut. I don't know, for those of you guys that buffalo fish, I've got a good friend of mine, him and his dad. At this time of year, when the buffalo start running, they catch them in nets. And there's a certain cut that you'll do. A lot of people just cut the buffalo ribs out and throw the rest of the fish away because it has bones in it. If you'll take you a big shad or a skipjack, the steak itself, all right? And catfish are all about scent. So what you do is you go in there and you score that steak about every 1/4 inch, but don't cut all the way through it on both sides. So it's just a lot of thin little steaks, and that's maximum scent out of that one piece, because otherwise when you cut a steak you just have two, the front and the back, that's open flesh, and then it's skin. So that's kind of what I do with that little cut there. Daryl hates that cut because sometimes I'll say, oh yeah, that's what it is, and he just we argue back and forth because that's what we did at St. Louis. He was catching them all, and I said, oh, it's your tail now. He says, why? I said, I'm putting the old buffalo cut on. And so we try to have fun.
As long as he's cutting the back, don't let him lie.
Yeah, I noticed you guys talking about Jeff Dodd. We're going to have Jeff on our show here the 6th of April, and Jeff's just a really hoot. And Another guy we're going to have on is Aaron Wheatley. I know you guys know both of them guys, and Brad Kilpatrick set up to do a show with us. So we've got a lot of great guys coming on. But I think Jeff will be as much fun as you guys have been, and he's very knowledgeable and great fisherman. And I know you guys personally know most of the real characters in the sport. Is there any one of them that sticks out as not being so much of a better fisherman, just being the kind of person you like to be around and presents himself in the professional manner that we're looking for in catfishing?
Oh wow, there's a bunch of them.
Of course, Jeff's he's a big old boy, and I'm not a big guy, and I always threaten I'm gonna whoop him, and he just laughs at me. Jeff's a great guy. Phil King's a great guy. When we kind of first got into this, Phil, he always, when he talked, he had great things to say, and doesn't get into the squabbles that some people like to get into. And
he's always positive. He's probably one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life.
And I hate to, there's so many. I mean, Matt Bingham's a great guy. Thank God he doesn't go hit the tournament trail, because we'd all be in trouble. Chris Stout's a good guy. There's a lot of good guys, and I know we're going to miss some that's going to give us a hard time. But the ones that after the tournament's over, everybody sits and laughs and cuts up and makes fun of each other, and that's one thing about catfishermen. I seem to, we do crappie. I crappie fish some on the side and whatnot, and bass fish a little bit. And you talk about people that's just mad at each other. Those guys just get mad at each other. And we're catfishermen. It's, I don't know, a little bit more of a camaraderie, so to speak, because we're in the fledgling part of this sport tournament, and that's what it takes to make this sport grow, I think.
We enjoy going playing, regardless of what we have, just if you want to call it fellowship with the other guys, to compare stories and have a good time. That's what we've always told each other. How long are we going to do this? As long as we're having fun, we'll be there year to year to year.
One of the things that I noticed about the catfishing people that we deal with, for the most part, everybody likes to win a check once in a while, but if you got the bragging rights over the guy down the road from you, that's about as worth as much as the money a lot of times, especially if you're talking about guys like Jeff or Jason Jackson or Ryan Casey or somebody like that. There's nothing better than just be able to call them up on the phone and say, hey, I got you this time.
Jeff Dodd, he, when we first met him, we was actually signing up for a tournament, had never met the man a day in our life. And he comes up and sticks his finger in my face. He said, I'm coming for you. Now, I step back here, this kind of a man has got his finger in my face, his hand sticking the garbage can, and I'm like, do I need to run or what here? And that's how we met him. That's his. He's a great guy. And, in every tournament we go to, he said, I don't care if I finish second to last, as long as I finish ahead of you two, son of a gun. He's a great guy.
I can imagine him saying that. And he's the right kind of guy.
We have fished with him, fun fishing, and we fished with him in tournaments, and like I said, he's always got that lovable attitude, I guess you want to call it, that everybody just drawn to him.
He's got a great outlook on everything. He's got a young daughter that fishes with him, and she's quite a fisherman herself. And then he fishes a lot of tournaments with Old Swampy. And John is quite the fisherman too. So you get them two and Sarah in the boat. They're a team to deal with every time they roll out.
There ain't no doubt. And we're in the weigh-in line. We're always looking to see, who's coming. Who's if we've got a good weight, you're always thinking somebody they're going to knock you off. And Jeff Dodd is definitely one of them guys to make you worry.
Absolutely. We got
Go ahead.
Another question. A guy wants to know what's your go-to hook style.
You talking about? I guess we fish with the Team Catfish, double action hook. We went to that hook. I can't remember how many years it's been, but we've never looked back. We had always fished with some KO styles and some circle styles. But for whatever reason, that hook there has just been amazing. I don't know if I can count on I probably count on one hand how many fish that we've had that we've lost due to just the hook failure. And like I said, we typically fish with the 8/0, I guess it is. That size there, we've caught everything from 3 pounds to, our biggest fish we ever caught, 77 pounds.
Okay. Well, now, are you letting those? I'm sorry.
I say we were fishing. A lot of people, they give us a hard time. They're like, well, yeah, you fished that hook. You got that on your shirt. And we were fishing that hook before we even met Jeff Williams, because it's something we believed in.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will say this on that hook there. A lot of people, we hear people say, I ain't never had no luck out of that hook. I ain't never had no luck out of that hook. You've got to be very disciplined, I guess, to fish that style of hook. When you get that bite, relax. Don't get excited and yank and jerk. Let the fish do what he's got to do. And like I said, 95, 99% of the time, he'll hook himself. If you get excited and yank and jerk, you're going to jerk it right out the front of his mouth, especially on big fish. So, when we're anchor fishing, it's our rule of thumb is until he's pulling drag, he's just biting. Let them do the work for you, and all you need to do is just reel him in.
Now, that was the question I was going to ask. Do you let them load it up? But you kind of covered that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys used to be pretty much anchor fishermen, and now I know that you're doing a lot of drifting. Was that a big change for you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We literally, Phil King come along and pretty much spanked us around on our home water there a couple of years, and we said, we got to, there's something to this. We got to figure it out. And we would take our anchoring rods and our drifting rods out there fun fishing, and we go drift for an hour, and we wouldn't catch nothing. And I said, let's go anchor, and we go back to anchor, and we literally, had to make a few trips where we didn't take any anchoring rods. We just took 2 rods to hold in our hands. That way we was forced to learn this.
We actually went and did not have an anchor in the boat.
Yeah, we had to leave the anchor at home.
Had to leave the anchor at home because we were so used to going to that anchor, that we made ourselves learn a new technique. Because that's a little rule. We still have this rule. Every time we go fun fishing, we try something different every time. Just something different, just off the wall, totally different. And you'd be surprised what that dead water. Never caught a fish in dead water in this body of water, and all of a sudden just wear them out.
That's good advice for somebody starting out.
Do what?
I say that's great advice for somebody starting out trying tournament fishing, or just going out on a Sunday afternoon to catch a few fish, is to try stuff new. That's good advice.
Oh yeah, I mean we live by it. Whether it's fish a different kind of a bait, or whether it's fish a different style, or fish somewhere you've never thought about fishing. In my theory, there's in any body of water, there's fish everywhere. You just got to be able to present the bait to them in the way they want to eat. So there's some of these places that we've done really well in. We would have never fished them before. And a lot of other people don't fish them either. So I mean, there is little crooks and nannies and pockets out there where, there's fish to be caught that nobody's ever fished for, and we've caught some of our better fish there. So, always, like they say, keep an open mind. Don't go out there and say there ain't no fish over there. Like I said, I think there's fish everywhere. You just got to figure out how to get them to bite.
I agree.
We got another question for you guys. It says, "What do you guys do for a living outside of fishing?"
I am a road construction quality control manager for a local company.
I'm a registered nurse. Worked in intensive care for several years, and then cath lab, and then kind of worked my way up to a manager and a few other things. But yeah, I'm a nurse, so. That's the joke. People say, so if I get in health problems at a tournament, you going to help me? I said, no, I only work Monday through Friday. So.
I got a business proposition for both of you. If you ever want to quit your jobs, and as manager, I'll only take, 30%? But just close your eyes and imagine rentamasingale.com.
What's that now?
Rentamasingale.com.
Oh, okay. There you go.
You know, $600 a day. You get one of the Masingale brothers. They come out. They fish with you for many days as you
Good.
could.
I might take you up on that one.
I gotta tell you, I want in on that action. I do. I really do. And to start with, I want to be the first one to throw out the money to get to go with them. So that right there would be something. Guys, you know, we appreciate you being on the show, and if you'd like to say something about to the audience or talk about your sponsors for a little bit before we close out, I'll give you a few minutes here, and you can just go to town with that. We really appreciate you guys being on here. It's been a blast.
All right. I'll say to everybody out there that's listening or watching, you know, we are no different than everybody else out there. You know, we don't hold ourselves these, you know, guys that are better than anybody else. We're fishermen just like you are. You know, if you see us at a tournament, come over, shake our hand, say, introduce yourself. You know, it's hard for us to you know, chase everybody down. You know, we like to talk to these people. You know, we're good old guys, if you want to call it that. You know, don't think that we're too good for anybody. Come by, stop, say hi. You know, if you see us on the water, come over, say hi. You know, we'll share information, whatever. You know. But as far as our sponsors, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Team Sea Arc, Sea Arc Boats, Team Catfish, Monster Rod Holders, Tangling with Catfish Rods, Action Outdoors, American Pro Catters, and my wife's own company, Masingale Accounting.
They and like Daryl said, you know, first tournament, you know, we ever fished, 16-foot boat, 40-horse motor, had a $79 depth finder on it, and we had Rubbermaid totes for a live well, and 5-gallon buckets, and
live well pumps.
For a live well pump. Yeah, and here's your pump right here all day. And I think we actually finished in the money in our first tournament and said, hey, this is pretty fun. So what I mean by that is you know, we're not any different than anybody else. We took what we had that we duck hunted in and turned it into a tournament boat and have slowly built our way up. You know, we don't spend a lot of time sitting out in the motel room talking the night before the tournament, because usually we don't get a good night's sleep because we don't fish hard all day. That don't mean that we don't like talking to people. It's just we're pretty tired and going to go to bed. But I appreciate you guys doing this. This is awesome. I'd love to have this back when we first got into the sport. I think it's what you guys are doing here that's really going to make a difference and get these tournaments to where everybody wants them. But most importantly, just get the sport and the conservation side of the sport where everybody wants it to be.
Well, conservation is very important to all of us. I know that Chris and Chuck, they spend their time doing visiting with people about catfish conservation, as well as Cindy and I do, and we got to get some rules and regulations put in some of these states to make that thing work. Chuck, have you got any final comments for tonight?
Not really. I just are y'all going talking to Masingales? Are y'all planning on fishing any tournaments in Alabama this year? If so, do y'all have any plans so far?
There's supposed to be one on Wheatley this fall, is there not?
Yes, I think I cut
there.
Cabela's
We
on.
like Wheeler. Wheeler's a fun place to come to. We'll definitely go to Wheeler. I'm trying to think. I don't have the schedule in front of us. Sometimes we got intentions on making it to most of the tournaments, but work kind of gets in the way every once in a while, messes us up. But definitely Wheeler.
So when you
everybody can come down and fish that place there, like I said, you know, win or lose, or just for fun fishing, that place down there is just plumb amazing.
So how do you like the Alabama rules with 2 fish over 34 and 300? Do you think every state ought to go to that, or is that a pain in the butt for y'all on that kind of weigh-in, or what do y'all really think about the Alabama-Tennessee rules on that?
We agree with the rule. I mean, you know, when we go to a tournament, you're just weighing in one weekend, and granted, we could have weighed in some phenomenal weigh-ins down there if it had it not been there. But for the better of the sport, if that rule had not been there, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to even catch fish like that.
That's right.
Those fish, when them fish get up to that size, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds, those are your breeder fish. Those are the ones that are going to give the genetics for the next generation of catfish to grow up to be that size. If all you're catching is 25-pound fish and that's all that's there, that's genetics. They're predestined to be a 25-pound fish. We start taking all these big 60, 80, 100-pound fish out of the waters and showing them off and killing them or whatever. All you're doing is you're ridding that genetic source, and that's what we want to keep in the waters. When we catch a big fish, we don't have a lot of pictures of, if we catch a big fish, we take about 3 seconds to try to get a picture of it, and he's back in the water, or she's back in the water. We're trying to ensure that fish lives on for another day. It kind of hurts our feelings to see people that drag them around in the back of trucks, and I'm not condemning them by no means. They have every right in the world to do that. They paid their license just like I did. For people that were kind of on the fence, let them go. They'll, who knows? You may catch them in 5 years from now as a world record.
I like the rule. That's played to our benefit. It's hurt us sometimes, but it's also played to our benefit. Meaning, there's guys out there that caught really big ones that we were able to beat them because we were able to catch the fish just under the limit, the 3 other fish. So it kind of evens the playing field for some people. To add on to what Daryl said, there was a biologist here in Arkansas I was talking to, and he said that the age of the fish. He goes, I've seen a 9-year-old fish weigh 9 pounds. He goes, and I've seen a 9-year-old fish weigh 40 pounds. And I think genetics is a bigger component than what a lot of people give it credit.
Correct. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all being on.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully, have y'all on again sometime.
Yeah, invite us back. We're more than happy to come back. We like to talk fishing.
That's cool. Paul, have you got any closing statement to make?
Oh no, I just want to thank them for coming in today. That was, I guess, focusing problem. But anyway, I appreciate these guys. Learned a little bit, and I don't really have anything else to say, but thanks.
You're welcome. All right. I've got a couple of things here I'd like to go over with, and thank you, Daryl and Jason, for being on the show tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank Catfishing Beauty's website for putting up Cindy as their Lady Angler of the Month, or for this. It means a lot to these people, not just Cindy and I, but to Chuck and Chris and Bob Rood and John Nordyke and all, and Daryl and Jason too. Anybody that gets a little shot in the arm for doing good things in our sport of catfishing, everybody appreciates that. So thank you guys for that. Twisted Cat Outdoors will be holding the next tournament in Meridosha, Illinois, the 19th of April. There is some blue cats over there. There's some flatheads over there. It's predominantly a channel cat area. And the weigh-in will be really close-knit with some of the smaller fish, but they got some really nice channel cats over there. We'd love to see everybody over there. The tournament starts at 7 a.m. We have finished a deal to have a Jack and Jill tournament June 14th with guaranteed $3,000 first place money. This tournament, you have to have 1 man, 1 woman in the boat. You can have 3 members in the boat. In any combination as long as there's 1 man and 1 woman. This is put on with Twisted Cat Outdoors in conjunction with Mark Twain Casino out of LaGrange, Missouri. It'll be a great show. We're going to have a captain's meeting on Friday night before the tournament. There'll be a barbecue dinner. They're going to give away T-shirts and jackets and hats and a whole bunch of other prizes that we don't even have put together yet. So anybody that wants to fish that, it's a $100 entry fee tournament. Points will count towards the Twisted Cat Outdoor Tournament Series. And like I say, we're guaranteeing $3,000 to win. So it's going to be a heck of a deal, and it's a way to get the more women and people into our sport. One other thing that I'd like to mention here, well, inside catfishing, Vince Rogers has put together this website and keeps everybody up to speed on tournaments and catfish conservation. Doing an outstanding job. If you get a chance, stop over there and check out that website. I know he'd appreciate it. He does a really good job with that. There's a benefit tournament that we're putting on for Calvin Myers. Calvin's been diagnosed with cancer. I think I mentioned this last week. He's 28 years old. Calvin is an ambassador for catfishing sport. Been married to Annie for 3 years. They're just a great couple with a 2-year-old daughter. And we're going to have this tournament in Burlington, Iowa. And it's going to pay 50% of the entry money will be paid to Calvin and his family to cut the cost some on their expenses of traveling from north of Quincy, Illinois to St. Louis Barnes Jewish Hospital down there where he's being treated. This is a very serious thing for a young man that has put a lot into our sport and given a lot, and just a good idea if people will give back to it a little bit and help these guys out, because it's this is a very serious situation. He's got some good news and things here in the last few days, but as many people as we can get to show up. There'll be a fish fry afterwards. The fish has been donated, and I've got prizes coming in from Tangle with Catfish and Monster Rod Holders is sending some stuff. Chris Simmons, I received yesterday a box of Starbucks coffee that's been donated that we're going to auction off, and we're going to give away a Black Horse rod. Cat River Anchors already sent us 2 of their anchors to give away, and all this stuff will be auctioned or raffled off, and with all proceeds being given to Calvin and Annie. So if you guys could make it, it's May 31st. The tournament will start at 7:30 in the morning. Chris?
Again, I do want to, like everybody else, want to thank the Masingale brothers for coming on tonight. From talking with you guys, I can tell you're real down-to-earth, regular guys, and I appreciate, again, you guys coming on the show for us.
We had a good time.
Well, like I said, myself and even some of the guys in the chat on catfishweekly.com were saying, we could ask you a million questions. So I'm sure that if you guys will be on, we'll have you on again. And also with your sponsor team, Catfish, Jeff Williams, he's a really good guy. He's also going to be a sponsor for our next month's prize packs that we're giving away with the Dead Red Blood Spray. I've talked with Jeff Williams quite a few times, and the guy is just absolutely 100% genuine, good guy. So definitely I like the Team Catfish hooks as well. They're the double actions. I've actually used those quite a bit myself. They're good hooks. The other products that he has, they're all really good as well. But besides that, I'll just go into the, as I say at the end of every show, every person on the show has their individual sponsors. The show itself is not sponsored by any company or product. We're not biased towards anything. We're 100% for the sport of catfishing. So we're just out here to help spread information, talk conservation, everything to do with just pushing catfishing into the future and making it the best sport we can. So I believe I'm done, and go back to you, Lyle.
Well, that'll close out our show, and thank everybody for watching tonight. You can check us out and watch the show anytime on YouTube. Just go to Catfish Weekly on the YouTube link, and the shows will pop up, and you can watch. This will be episode 13, and watch
One more
us.
thing.
Okay.
One more thing I forgot. UnitedForCatfish.com. The United for Catfish Project. Myself, Aaron Wheatley, Lyle, Brad Kilpatrick, Jeremy Gregg. There's many guys who all are what we're doing, coming together, creating a place for conservation efforts to be centralized in one spot for us all to be able to share information, share resources, share funding. I mean, pretty much just it's real hard for individual states to get enough support to really get some change done sometimes, and also even to get the monetary support needed to do some certain things that need to be done. So with this project, we're getting everything united into one centralized hub to where everybody can work together. for many different things. There's going to be a round table of leaders for every state where they'll all be talking together, hopefully be talking with DNR and other officials. So there's a Kickstarter project going on right now. If you're not friends with me on Facebook, Chris Wallace or FUD Goes Catfishing, I'll put a link up on the video for this video on the catfishweekly.com website. That'll be a link to the Kickstarter campaign. We're raising funds just to help get the software started, get everything that needs to be done to get it going and running, and then after that's all paid for, it's just going into the general fund, everything beyond what we need to get going. So the general fund needs to be funded as much as possible for a long time. If you could do that, we'd appreciate it. And the donations are anywhere from $10 to $100. So.
The thermometer out of there. Is that round thing?
I'm done now.
Okay, Paul, you gonna sign us off?
All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for stopping by. And until next week, we'll see you then.